In this slide, how taxes impact consumer and producer welfare will be discussed. When a tax is imposed on a market, it will reduce the quantity that will be sold in the market. That is to say, some of the consumer surplus from before the tax will now be part of the tax revenue. The amount of the tax revenue collected that previously belonged to consumer supplies is the consumer's tax burden. Some of the producer supplies from before the tax will now be part of tax revenue. The amount of tax revenue collected that previously belonged to producer supplies is the producer's tax burden. Such issue can also be found in this figure. You can also find the dead-weight loss through this figure. In this slide, how taxes generally impact aggregate demand and aggregate supply will be discussed from several perspectives. The government uses taxes to indirectly affect aggregate demand. The total demand for goods and service in the economy. Now, aggregate demand is causal because a drop in aggregate demand would cause a recession in the economy. Additionally, a considerable increase would translate into a significant increase in the price level. Luckily, in both cases, the government can use taxes to influence aggregate demand and bring the economy to equilibrium. When the tax rate decreases, the aggregate demand curve shifts to the right from 81 to 82, increasing the total output produced from Y1 to Y2 and the price level from P1 to P2. As total output produced increases, the unemployment rate decreases as more workers are required to produce more. On the other hand, an increase in the tax rate would lower the disposable income of households. This, in turn, would shift the aggregate demand curve to the left from 81 to 83. As a result, the total output would drop from Y1 to Y3, and the price level would drop from P1 to P3. As output drops, the unemployment in the economy will increase. Using an ADAS model, can you answer whether a tax that improves people's skills could have any potential long-term benefits for the economy? Based on an ADAS model, whether a tax that improves people's skills could have any potential long-term benefits for the economy will be discussed. Fat tax differs from other targeted taxes, such as excise duty on cigarettes, since food is an essential part of all our lives, and this complicates the situation. Whether a government can and should command people what to eat or not to eat is less evidence than that obesity has become a worldwide problem. A fat tax, possibly combined with subsidies for healthy food such as vegetables, might be a good step to help to solve this problem. The figure above can be used for analyzing this issue. When the fat tax rate increases, AS curve will shift to the left, decreasing the total output produced. Therefore, more companies in this area will choose not to produce such food, which can change the consumer preference to some extent. That is how the AD curve is impacted by the Fed tax in the long term. Finally, briefly discuss how you could use an empirical econometric model to assess the health and economic growth consequence of a Fed tax. Compared to the theoretical model, empirical model aims to verify the collective predictions of theoretical models and convert these predictions to precise numerical outcomes. For example, a theoretical model of an agent's consumption behavior would generally suggest a positive relationship between expenditure and income. The empirical adaptation of the theoretical model would attempt to assign a numerical value to the average amount expenditure increase when income increase. In terms of the Fed tax, we can collect data from the Statistics Office, including all detailed information about family expenditures. Data about population health, like the obesity rate, should also be collected. It should be assumed that the Fed tax would be perfectly transmitted to consumer price. Furthermore, no behavioral change on the part of consumer is assumed. By doing so, the estimates can be considered to represent the upper boundary of the impact such a tax could really have.